Right, hi everyone, welcome to another 2020 Vision video. This time I'm going to be talking about steering wheels. As you might have seen on my social media, I ordered a Momo steering wheel and boss setup from Brown and Geeson, and I also ordered their quick release system as well. Now in this video I'm going to talk about why I'm changing from a Grant setup here over to the Momo, and I'll also do a couple of little fitting bits and pieces as well, and then show it being fitted on the vehicle itself. So let's get to it. Right, so the reason I've changed from a Grant setup is mainly for a safety aspect. The boss in which I have in my hand is the current boss that was fitted to the car, and as you can see it's a 3-bolt setup which stops the wheel rotating, and the main nut then obviously holds the boss to the spline. Now me personally, I didn't like the fact that it was being held on by just 3 bolts, and I also noticed that the actual securing bolts, one of which I have in my hand, is the threads slightly start to wear out, where obviously the wheel is starting to chatter slightly. Now that could be because the main nut wasn't tight enough. However, over time, I mean this has happened probably over, I'd say 3 years, 4 years, and that is mainly because of drifting, where I'm putting very heavy loads. So for me personally, looking forward to the future and the things in which I want to do, this bolt, and 3 of them, wasn't going to be adequate enough, so I wanted to change to a more conventional aftermarket steering wheel setup anyway. So we've got the Momo and Brown and Geeson setup here ready to install, so let's get all the stuff out of the box and see what we have. Right, let me talk you through the products in which I've ordered. So, the first of which is the Momo Prototipo, I guess that means prototype in Italian. It's a 350mm wheel, and it's a very, very shallow depth to it, so it's not a high dish wheel. So the reason I've gone for a shallow dish wheel is mainly because I'm adding the quick release system. Now this is about 67mm deep, which naturally means the wheel is going to come towards my face quite a lot. That's what she said. So with the boss setup as well, this is about 80mm from memory. Obviously the size comparison in terms of depth is quite a lot there compared to the original setup. Now I went for this boss setup because it's a collapsible system. You can buy other means of bosses that will fit BEETLEs and camvers and bits and pieces like that. However, this one I was a little bit more comfortable with being a collapsible setup. So the quick release setup I've gone for is from B&G Direct themselves. It's their street sort of model, so it doesn't have a racing spline kind of conventional setup. This is ball bearings instead. So this will be left on the boss of the vehicle when obviously you remove the wheel, and this will obviously come with the wheel itself. Now, normal racing setups have a master keyway in which you can only ever sort of locate it in one place, which obviously doesn't throw out your steering setup. Now what's nice about the ball bearings is they have offset ball bearings, so when you put it together eventually it will click back together, and that is now secured. What's also nice about this setup as well is it has a safety pin, so you can't technically disconnect this whilst driving without great difficulty. So the idea is almost like a set of crutches. You push that safety pin in and then it allows it past, and that releases the setup. Right, so now I've talked about the parts in which I've purchased, let's put them all together and see what we get. So what's cool about these as well is obviously the terminals in which allow the horn to actuate. So they do actually have spades on the back of them, and then obviously this sort of little like screw type brass fitting to connect them. Right, so to install the horn push, there is actually a machined ring in which that is inside the quick release itself. Now what that needs to do is sit on the other side of the wheel, and then the horn push will actually go into that and expand. Now obviously line it up so it's nice and straight, and then what you're going to do is use the clip that secures it in there, and then as you lower this down onto the quick release, that metal ring will go into its milled section, and then you can bolt the wheel up. Right, so what we're going to do now is use the supplied countersunk bolts to fit the wheel to the quick release hub. Normally you go straight to the actual boss itself, but obviously we're going to have this in between the two. So let's get those bolted together. Right, now that we got the whole new assembly put together, what I want to do is take this temporary wheel off the car, and then we're going to fit the boss and then the quick release hub, and then we'll go from there. Right, something to bear in mind when you are fitting the boss is that the column has enough play in it that when you do up the main nut, that it allows it to distance itself properly from the cluster. So what I done is actually loosened off the pinch bolt at the bottom of the column and adjusted it so that when I do fit the actual hub, there is plenty of gap between the actual console and the boss itself, and therefore it's not going to rub, so that I know when that is done up, there's going to be no issues there. Right, so what we're going to do now is bolt the quick release sort of lower hub to the actual boss. Now you get supplied some Allen keys from B&G Direct, and this boss does actually have a nice little marking to show you where the top should be. So we'll get that bolted on now and go from there. Right, so we've got this all finally bolted together. The quality of all the parts is really, really good. It comes off quite easily, so it's a simple, as I said, sort of pin release and then pull towards you. All the other parts are really nicely fitted together as well, and I'm really happy with it. So appreciate you guys watching. I'll give you some updates of how I get on with this.